There you go.
Oh, my ear. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Couch Concerts. We're really excited to present this to you today, and very lucky to have Glenn here with me, who also happens to be my housemate. And he's going to be performing one of Andrew House's new compositions. And so we're going to bring Andrew in on a video conference and have a chat to him and get his thoughts on the piece, about why he wrote it and what he's doing at the moment. And after that, Glenn's going to play the piece. But we're also going to do a couple of other things by Schumann, an Adagio and Allegro, and something at the end, which I'll do, a transcription of a piece I'm sure you'll recognize. But first, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Support Act and why we're doing this. Obviously, the kind of the situation at the moment has meant a lot of artists have lost their work. So this is, I guess, just our way, or anyone who joins really, is their way of contributing to that. And we're going to have different people each week, kind of. And they're just people who wanted to give something back to the community with music, and then also bring people, some happiness as well. And first up, we've got Glenn, who's you may already know from the Australian Chamber Orchestra, and he's well, what have you been doing lately?
A lot of practice. Yeah, not too much performing as all of the ACO's concerts have been cancelled up until at least September. So yeah, a lot of practice, cooking, baking, brewing beer.
Yeah, he actually bakes pretty good bread.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. He bought 25 kilograms of flour, and we've been trying to get through it. But it's pretty good sourdough.
Thank you.
And we've been rehearsing a bit of stuff, and have plans for some more stuff down the track, or for different streams. But yeah, life has been,
It's been different.
Yeah,
but it's
enjoyable in its own way, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. All right. If you have any questions or comments or anything, just put them in the chat. And otherwise, I think we'll just get to it.
Good to go. Let's go.
Schumann. So the first piece is Adagio and Allegro by Schumann, and it was written for a lot of instruments. The violin is one of many. It gets played a lot on horn, and clarinet, oboe, viola, cello. Yep. So this is this sort of covers the orchestral instruments in one hit. Okay, and then we're going to bring Andrew in after that. So, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're just here now. We've just got Andrew into the Zoom meeting, so I'm just going to admit him into the chat now. This is Andrew Howes, for those of you who don't know, and he is fantastic young composer. Glenn here is going to be playing his piece just next. So we're going to chat to Andrew about that piece and about what he's up to at the moment, what his processes are with composing, all that kind of interesting stuff. And then Glenn's going to play his piece for him. Alrighty, I'll just bring him in. Hopefully this all works. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, we're great. We're great. Just
All right, let me just.
phone. That will be amazing.
Which direction?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
All right, sweet.
All right. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. It's a really nice day, but it's very windy, so I'm loving it.
It's really cold at the moment. You're up in the mountains, right?
Mm-hmm. Wentworth Falls.
Oh, amazing. I've been up that way. I've seen that place a couple of times now. It's incredible. It's really beautiful up there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
it's a good place to be isolated.
Yeah. Is that a place where you do a lot of your composing? Do you
it is now. Whenever I'm in Australia, I tend to come up here because there are so many trees and so many birds, and it's sort of just an inspiring, peaceful place to be. Composing.
It's really beautiful up there. What about this piece? It's called Lake Lines 5, so it being the 5th lake line.
Yes.
How many other lake lines are there?
Well, Lake Lines, it was a project I did over a week, where every day I went for a walk to the Wentworth Falls Lake, and I wrote a piece for a solo instrument. So this is the 5th one, and it was a very misty day. It was cold. It was in April, sort of mid-April.
This year, right?
Yeah, this year. So yeah, let me see, a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
It was misty and cold, and the lake was sort of glassy. And I think that's reflected in this piece, although they're not all like that. They're sort of a daily fresh look at the environment around me. People who know me sort of know how grumpy I get when it's really cloudy, but sometimes when it's cloudy and misty, it puts me in a really sort of, I guess, a serene place of mind. Mm-hmm. And those sorts of weather events always let me think about where I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And so the music that I write tends to be inner reflections as opposed to sort of outer, more like, what am I trying to say about something else that someone's doing, or, inner reflections at the moment, not all dark. It's obviously an interesting, very sort of difficult time for everybody. But my reflections have sort of been all over the place personally. Lake lines is a pun in a way. That they're like lines that I've written, lines of music, but I'm really interested in the lines, the sort of landscape lines around the lake, that you see this flat surface that's inevitably surrounded by these amazing shapes of trees and in the distance hills, and that compels me to think a lot musically about static lines with moving lines above them.
Okay.
And so that's definitely an aspect in this music that I've explored, particularly in this piece.
Yep. Well, I've got the piece here with me, so it's in 2 parts the whole way through, isn't it?
Yeah. Double stop. I think of it as a duet, but it's a duet in the sense it's 2 voices that are so similar to each other. I mean, they're being played on the same instrument by the same person, and yet they sort of fight against each other the whole way through. There are dissonances, resolutions. The whole piece sort of exists in this implied harmony 7th zone.
Yeah.
Whether it's major or minor is sort of up to you to think about. You know, you might have an opinion, you might not. You know.
Well, the thing that
Yeah.
stood out to me is just the sort of the extent of the dissonance without resolution. I think is kind of what I sort of noticed on repeat playings of it is how long that you draw out before you draw out that dissonance before you choose to resolve it.
Oh yeah, well it feels better like that, doesn't it? I mean, you know, who wants to resolve right away?
I found it interesting as well that when obviously playing this piece and preparing it, how well, even though it's sort of, there are some difficult moments, but obviously because Andrew is a very fine violinist and player himself, how beautifully it fits under the instrument. So you obviously got good knowledge of how to write for strings.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I think maybe I might have been on my way to being a fine violinist, but I started replacing my daily practice with daily composition, and I think lost that chance. But it's still it feels just as good to write violin music, and I'm pretty happy that I still know some good tricks.
Yeah.
To put into the pieces that I write.
Yeah, well, it was very nice that, although I had to obviously practice it a lot and think about it, but it's still nice that you know how to write for the instrument.
It's one of the best things about being a composer, actually, that you get to hand off your music to players who are capable of doing things you're not, or even just simply to hand music over to players who have an expressive capability that makes the music sort of rise to another level. And so that's always a pleasure to do.
Well, you're also a pretty fantastic piano player from what I know. Is that...
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Wait, I've heard you improvise before. It's pretty amazing. Is that, do you do a lot of composition from improvising, or is it mainly in your head, or both? Or I guess it's a bit of both, I suppose. But
it's a bit of both, but it's actually more segmented than you might think. I think either I'm sitting and trying to conceptualize the sounds ahead of time, put them all together, and then I'm working them out on paper.
Right.
Or I'm sort of composing as improvisation in a way, starting at the beginning and just working my way to the end, sort of making good guesses along the way as to what the music should do. That method of composition is really quick, and you know, I can churn pieces out really fast, but it relies on what I've already done and what I already know, and maybe pieces that I'm listening to and things like that. So it's not always the most rewarding form of composition, but it is more like improvising,
right,
than sitting there and working it all out with pen and paper.
With this piece, was it basically fully formed in your head during your walk, and then all you had to do was just come home and put it on the paper, or what happened? How did that work?
About 2/3 of it was. I got about 2/3 of it stuck in my head on a loop, and then when I came home, I put that down and started making some changes here and there, exploring some possibilities of sort of loose ends in the piece. And yeah, so it was a pretty quick process. And the piece doesn't have a huge amount of material in it anyway. So it's sort of easier to do when the pieces come out like that.
Andrew, look, thanks so much for joining us. It's been really amazing chatting to you and just getting...
Thanks so much for putting the piece on. Really appreciate it.
Look, we love it, and so we're more than happy to. Keep well up there, and good luck with all of your future projects that are coming up, and of course we'll see more of you pretty soon.
Yes.
Glenn's going to play your piece now, and you're going to be hanging around in the chat, I imagine, if anyone has any questions.
For sure.
Okay, cool.
For sure.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
All right, bye.
I'll see you later.